Hi and welcome to a new video. It's been a while. I have been traveling a lot. I've also been sick, so if you can hear that, I'm so sorry. I've been sick for like almost 2 weeks by this time, honestly. It's like I'm getting so much better, but I'm still like, I have a blocked nose and my throat is a bit weird and I have a cough. Yeah. But I thought, hey, why not do a video either way? So I thought we could finally talk about the books I read in February. I unfortunately don't have any of these books physically because I sent the most of them that I actually had physically home with my dad. So the first book that I read was Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. This is the second? It's been so long ago since I filmed one of these that I actually don't... Yeah, it's the second book in the Red Rising saga. And I binged this book. I got recommended Red Rising by my friend and read that one and then immediately went into Golden Sun. It's very intense. I feel like I can't really talk about it that much since it's the second book in a series, but it's very intense. A lot of like politics, betrayal, and constant stress, but in a really good way. I felt like we really got into the plot, and sometimes the second book, because the Red Rising is a trilogy from the beginning. It's 3 books and then Pierce Brown have continued writing in the universe. I don't necessarily know exactly what those books are following, if you're following the same set of characters or if it's different in some kind of way. But sometimes when there is a trilogy, the second book can feel a bit, not unnecessary, but more of a bridging book, a lot of build up to the third book, the final book. And I've sometimes felt that, but not a lot, which I feel is very good because I can be very sensitive towards that. I very often dislike the second book the most out of the entire series because they're just too much of a bridging book, but in this case it was actually quite good. And like you kind of feel a bit exhausted after reading it because it's just a lot of happening and a lot of characters by this point that you have to remember who is who, and a lot of different political aspects that are complicated and constantly changing. And if you take a break in between them, which I didn't do between the first and second book, I have read the third one as well, but I read it in March, so that will be in the March wrap-up. I feel like you sometimes forget a bit about the political systems, and since I'm always like reading one dystopia and one fantasy, yada yada, it's just a lot of systems to have in your mind, and I usually prefer to read the entire series as a whole directly after each other, but I didn't do it in this case. After that, I truly needed a palette cleanser, and therefore I read In Your Dreams by Sarah Adams. I was so excited for this. This is the 4th book in the When in Rome series, and it basically follows 4 different siblings. In the first book, it's a brother, and then it's 3 sisters. And I have loved every single one of these books. I think maybe In Your Dreams was my least favorite in the series, but that to say, I still gave it a very high rating. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I think my favorite is, I think it's the 3rd one in the series. It's the red cover one. Is it the 3rd one? Yes, Beg, Borrow, Steal. But In Your Dreams is still about the 4th sister. This is about a sister who's very independent, who feels like she always let people down. She's like, I always try different things and then I just stop doing them and people look at me like I'm a failure. And she basically went to New York for chef school, do you say that? And hated it there, absolutely hated it. And she really wanted to come back, but since everyone always sees her as a failure already, she was like, I can't go back. And then we have James. Or am I confusing the names right now? I think it's James. Yes. James owns a farm that is struggling and he needs a way to get more money in. So when Madeline one night calls him crying about everything and she's like, I want to go back but there's no work, la 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 la, he's like, I'm opening a restaurant. He was not opening a restaurant. You could be the chef there. Perfect. In their hometown. Like, I get things out of it, I get money out of it, you get work here in the hometown you want to come to. Perfect. So that's basically the setup. And James and Madison have always been kind of rivals. It's like Madison had a crush on him while growing up, and James also had one, but they never really like dated or anything like that. It's just a lot of angst, a lot of feelings, and I really liked it. It was the perfect palate cleanser and just a romance to read in between. I've been kind of struggling with romance recently. I think I've just been into so many other genres like lit-fic, literary fiction, dystopian, fantasy, a lot of that instead of romance, but I feel like sometimes you just need something quick and easy to read in between. Nothing that's too complicated or too many feelings or anything like that. And this book did just that. Then I read a 4.5 star read, and that was The Bright Years by Sarah Damoff. Butchering that name, I'm so sorry. And this is a literary fiction book. It's very character driven and very emotional. I cried while reading this book. It's actually in a video. I can see if I can kind of like link it in one of these corners. I never remember which one. I think it's this one. And it just really sits with you, and how it's a lot of family dynamics. I love a book with family dynamics. I find it so interesting. So we have these two persons who meet each other, and they have a lot of different family traumas, family dynamics, and a lot of kind of secrets, and it's very complicated. Like, I don't want to spoil anything, so I don't know how much I can say, but it's so much about life, how money affects your relationship, how grief affects your relationship, how your trauma with your parents affect your relationship, how you say, I will never do that, and one day suddenly you do that. How does that affect, and is there a second chance of love? And it was just so good. I would absolutely recommend it, but please check trigger warnings. Always when it's more emotional books, I can be very bad at reading trigger warnings. In this case, it was fine. But please check trigger warnings for this book in case you want to read it. Some feel like it's spoilers, but I think that if you're aware that you have some trauma or something that will affect you, always check trigger warnings. That is so much better to be spoiled rather than get triggered by something. But 4.5 stars, I haven't really thought about it since reading it, to be honest. Otherwise, I think it would have been a 5-star, but it was really good, and I would love to reread it someday. But I just think that since I haven't really thought about it since reading it, it's not a 5-star, even though I absolutely adored the book while reading it. Then we have Harry Potter again. I feel like there's always one Harry Potter book in each monthly wrap-up, because we know the drill by this time. I always listen to a book when I go to bed, and since I have a tendency to fall asleep while listening to books, I just put on a book that I know very well, and that it's not very picky to like start again. If I've fallen asleep, I don't have to struggle to find exactly where I was. I can like have an idea in my head, like, oh, this is the last thing I remember, and kind of already know what chapter that's in, or like what part I'm in and stuff like that. It just makes it so much easier rather than listening to the book you're actually reading, the one you're actually invested in, and then really have to struggle to find the place you fell asleep at. I just do that a lot. It's often either Harry Potter books or Hunger Games or anything similarly, books that I know well and love and that I can fall asleep to. But this time it was Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. I very rarely do a like reread or re-listen of like Harry Potter and Half-Blood Prince or Deathly Hallows. Well, Order of the Phoenix as well. I just think that I love the like first 3-4 books because they're the perfect mix of Hogwarts and it getting slightly darker. Like the first 2 books are more Hogwarts and the magical things around it, whereas book 3 and 4 kind of gets into more the dark arts and a lot of dark stuff happening. But then we have the rest of the books, Order of the Phoenix, Half-Blood Prince, and Deathly Hallows, which I very rarely re-listen to because I'm just so invested in the characters that I always hate my life when people start dying, and I'm like, no, no. Especially, spoiler, but I feel like you all should have seen Harry Potter by this time or read it. I cannot rewatch or reread the scene when Sirius dies, or Remus, or Snape. These are, no, cannot. I will skip that part. I'm not joking. I will seriously skip that part. When it comes up when I'm watching movies, skip. Seriously, alive? What do you mean? He's not dead. No. We have 2 books left now, and the next one I have a very interesting title, and that is Daddy Issues by Kate Goldbeck. I don't really know what I thought about it. I felt like the first 50%, so the first half of the book, was quite good. It had a very interesting setup. We have this girl who's like 25, something like that, that's still like, she has done her bachelor's and things like that, but then COVID happened, which means that she never was able to do her internship, and she had a really cool internship lined up, and a lot of stuff in her life just halted, and she had to move in with her mom, and she has a lot of dad issues. Because she's like always put her dad on a pedestal, and suddenly she starts to realize that he's not, like, she's always known that he's not as good as she's made him up to be, but she's slowly starting to realize that and starting to like really do some introspective work and work on herself on that part. And then suddenly she meets her mom's neighbor, and he's a single dad who has a very, very cute daughter, and just a lot of stuff was happening. And as I said, I really enjoyed the first 50%. Then I felt like it became more lusty rather than emotional, and I'm an emotional romance girly. That's the type of romance I enjoy. Sometimes I even skip the spice because sometimes it isn't what I want. I want more the emotional connection, and when I'm not connected to characters, I'm like, I'm just gonna skip it. I don't even care. I'm sorry. So I kind of felt like it felt kind of flat for me, and it had a lot of potential. It just weren't there, kind of. So I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. And then the last book I read for this month is Thanks to My Friend Vanessa. So the book I read was Heated Rivalry. My friend Vanessa is obsessed with Heated Rivalry, both the books and the series, and I just felt like I needed to read it. For those of you who are not chronically online and seen all the hype about Heated Rivalry, it's basically an MLM, male loves male, book, so it's a queer book, very good. And it's 2 hockey players that are supposedly rivals, but throughout their career actually have a secret relationship. Like, they're not together, but they're starting to get feelings, like from their junior year to like their senior years in hockey, and you get to follow them throughout the years and what's happening, and a lot of like how it's being queer in hockey and a lot of stuff like that. It was fine, it was good. I'm so sorry, Vanessa. I gave it 3.75 stars. I don't think I really connected with the characters, and it was very lusty yet again, and I just don't think that's my kind of books. I prefer when it's more journeying, when it's closed door, a lot of stuff like that. So I just think it wasn't really my type of book, and I'm so sorry about that. But that is all the books I read in February. I hope you enjoyed this kind of chaotic wrap up, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one. Bye.